The film begins at a lake house where a young lady named Teresa, Mirabai Pease, is perched by the water when she is frightened by her companion Caleb's, Richard Crouchley, drone. Teresa goes to mind her other companion, Caleb's better half, Jessica, Anna Marie Thomas, who has not been feeling great since they arrived. Teresa keeps an eye on Jessica and sits close by as she begins to peruse Wuthering levels. Jessica starts to present a section from the page that Teresa is perusing in an undeniably stunning voice prior to falling over the bed. Teresa minds her and attempts to help, yet Jessica gets Teresa's braid and scalps her. Teresa staggers over to Caleb, who sees the had Jessica. She snatches the robot and cuts her own face with it prior to handling Caleb into the water. She tosses his cut-off head at Teresa prior to transcending the water. On one occasion prior, a lady named Beth, Lily Sullivan, is at a music scene with the band she works with, taking a pregnancy test in the restroom. She has a stressed look all over when she sees the outcome. Somewhere else, Beth's sister Ellie, Alyssa Sutherland, is a tattoo craftsman living with her 3 children, hopeful DJ Danny, Morgan Davies, lobbyist Bridget, Gabrielle Eccles, and little Cassie, Nell Fisher, who has an interest with the grotesque. Bridget gets a thump at the entryway from a neighbor Jake, Billy Reynolds McCarthy, and his younger sibling Scott, Taiwano, as Jake has a keen interest in Bridget, yet she declines his challenge to watch the Bad Dream on Elm Road films. Beth shows up at the loft to converse with Ellie. However, the sisters are alienated and have had a convoluted relationship with their mom. While the children like their Aunt Beth, she hasn't addressed Ellie in so lengthy that she was ignorant that her better half left the family months prior. Ellie sends the children to get pizza while she converses with Beth. She lets Ellie know that she messed up once more and requires her assistance to fix things once more. At the point when the children get back from getting pizza, a quake strikes the high-rise, opening an opening in the parking structure. Danny goes into the opening and finds a secret room loaded up with vinyl plates and a puzzling book, the Naturom de Monto Necronomicon, otherwise known as the Book of the Dead. He takes the book back to the condo and shows Bridget, who could do without what he found. Danny cuts his hand, attempting to open it, and his blood dribbling on the book makes it open. After Bridget leaves the room, Danny pays attention to one of the vinyls, and the voice of a minister, Bruce Campbell, talks about the idea of the Necronomicon, discussing an unholy mantra as Danny sees unnerving pictures attracted the book. Ellie is getting stuff while returning up the lift, and she is unexpectedly gone after by a concealed substance that horrendously ties her with the links in the lift. Ellie returns to the loft, presently moved by the evil spirits known as Deadites. She starts tossing eggs onto a skillet, some of which are loaded up with blood. Ellie begins talking in a quiet voice about cutting her children open and moving into them before she begins to creep after them. She then spews all around the floor before the genuine Ellie figures out how to talk and asks Beth to not allow the evil spirits to take her kids. Ellie then implodes, obviously dead. Beth finds support from Ellie's neighbors, Gabriel, Jaden Daniels, and Mr. Fonda, Imprint Mitchinson, taking care of Ellie. Beth expresses a few expressions of disappointment over her relationship with her sister until Ellie seems to spring back up, alive. She is catching fire, so Beth and Danny attempt to place her in a bath loaded up with cold water. Ellie springs back up and tells Danny, "Mother's with the worms now," before she moves to the roof and lets out a stunning yell. Ellie then attempts to go after her children, taking a tattoo pen to Bridget's face and cutting her cheek before Danny thumps Ellie off. Gabriel and Mr. Fonda endeavor to find an exit plan through an emergency exit to find support. Beth and the children keep Deadite Ellie out of the loft, and she continues to pursue the neighbors. She chomps Gabriel's eye out before ruthlessly killing Jake and Scott. Mr. Fonda endeavors to fire Ellie with his rifle, yet she incapacitates and guts him. Gabriel is as yet alive until Ellie tears his throat out. She then attempts to crush Spirit into the loft. Bridget's injury starts to become dark, and she begins overflowing ink from each hole in front of her. She likewise turns into a Deadite in the wake of vomiting up bugs. In the meantime, the Deadite in Ellie attempts to fool Cassie into opening the entryway for her, causing her to accept it's actually her mother talking. Beth and Danny figure out how to keep Ellie outside. Beth finds Bridget hunched on the kitchen counter, biting on a wine glass. She then, at that point, pursues Beth, cutting her leg with a cheddar grater. Bridget then pursues her kin until she hurries for Cassie, who is holding the sharp finish of one of her improvised dolls, and she skewers Bridget through the mouth, apparently killing her. Danny then, at that point, ties her up and places her in bed to be protected. Danny confesses all to Beth about the Book of the Dead, and furthermore shows her the vinyls. As this occurs, Ellie tracks down a way back into the condo by moving through the vents, and certainly killing a feline creeping in there, while Bridget begins to get up. Beth pays attention to the vinyls and hears the cleric discussing how he needed to kill his sidekicks that got had, apparently tracking down no real way to kill them until he needed to dismantle them totally. Ellie then, at that point, pursues Beth while Bridget assaults Danny and cuts him. The Deadite faculties that Beth is pregnant and nearly takes joy in killing them both until Cassie gets Ellie off Beth. He sets Bridget ablaze, which works momentarily, yet she returns while Danny passes on. Beth then makes plans to give and have Cassie and herself a chance of there securely. Beth and Cassie have a go at descending the emergency exit, yet the neighbors that Ellie killed now become Deadites too. Ellie and Bridget, presently joined by Deadite Danny, pursue them. Beth shoots Ellie's arm and leg off before she and Cassie advance down. Bridget and Danny start diving into Ellie's body to frame a bug Deadite of some sort. Beth and Cassie come to the parking structure and nearly escape. However, Beth's vehicle stalls out in a pothole. They stow away as the insect Deadite comes their direction. They almost run out until the Deadites snatch Cassie. They almost behead her with a trimming tool until Beth shoots them with the firearm. The Deadites enact a tree shredder and attempt to pull Beth in, yet Cassie figures out how to switch it off. Beth gets the trimming tool and cuts into Ellie, Bridget, and Danny, constraining them into the branch shredder as Cassie betrays. Beth searches in regret as she needs to kill her sister, niece, and nephew, yet she tosses Deadite Ellie's head into the branch shredder. Cassie sobs for the deficiency of her family, however Beth comforts her and removes her from the structure. The following day it's uncovered that Jessica lived, on the floor underneath Ellie and the children. She is preparing to join Caleb and Teresa until she goes over the shocking scene from the prior night. The concealed element then, at that point, pursues her and makes Jessica shout. A lady named Ellie is moved by the underhanded evil spirits known as Deadites after her child Danny finds the Naturam Demonto, Book of the Dead, and opens it. Ellie's sister Beth should safeguard Danny and his sisters Bridget and Cassie from their had mother.